Alright, so we're going to start to animate our keyboard. So I'm just going to unpause this. And camera, there we go. And I'm just going to go into my camera. And typically you get a free camera, like free as in it can move around. And I'm going to click here and add a new camera. And this is going to be, let's say, an orbit cam. Okay, so I just call it orbit cam. There's a little save here so that as I rotate this around, it will let me save this. If I don't save it, it'll just revert back like if I was trying to play the animation. Okay, so I want to find like a good angle that I want to start on here. So I'm going to say I'm going to start this direction. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to hit save on the camera. I'm going to right click and go to animation. Now this isn't keyframed animation. This allows us to go through and do procedural animation. So when I click this orbit, it's going to bring up, pull this open so I can see it better. It's going to pull open this animation tab. Okay, and let's shrink this down too. There we go. So there's a property. Oh my god. Stop docking stuff. Alright, there you go. So when we double click this, it'll bring open this properties tab. And this will tell us like how many degrees we're rotating. It'll tell us when we're starting. So 0 minutes, 0 seconds, 0 milliseconds. When does this end? 0 minutes, 5 seconds. So that means that the duration is 5 seconds, right? So if I told this to start at 3 seconds, it's going to end at 5 seconds. So that means it's going to be 2 seconds, but it automatically adjusts. So 3, 8, 5, okay? If I set this to 2, then it'll say 3, 5, 2, okay? That's this bar down here. I could also just drag the bar where I want it to start, and then drag this endpoint where I want it to end. And this gets a little bit bigger. I could also zoom out. So we're going to do a 5-second animation. So I can just reset these to 0. Reset that to 0. Reset this to 5. There we go. Okay. Oh my god. Stop doing that. Right. So now when I click and drag here, it's going to rotate around. Okay. Now it's rotating around some sort of pivot. We don't know where the pivot is. It's just kind of pivoting some weird angle. And it's also going 360 degrees. I don't want it to go 360 degrees. I only want this to go to like 90 degrees, if that. Maybe even like 75 degrees. Okay, now it's still going in some weird direction. So I'm thinking that my center point is not actually my center point. So let's go to edit, add geometry, and I'm going to add a cube into the scene. And the cube is very, very large, so I'm going to go to my scene. And yours may not do this, it's just mine is doing that, and I want to show you how to fix it. I'm going to scale this down to 1 or 2 or 3. Let me zoom out and find where that cube is. Okay, snap it to the ground. Alright, so that cube is right there. So I'm not fully sure why the camera is spinning around such a crazy angle. Let's save this again. Oh, it's because our target is not set up correctly. Okay, so let me delete that. Come on. Go to scenes, click cube, hit delete. Yes, there we go. All right, back to camera. Okay, so my target, I'm going to set my target point to a model, and I'm going to click on the body here, and then hit save. Let's see if that fixes it. No, it's still going in a weird spot. Okay. Let's say use target as pivot. There we go. Much nicer. Okay. Again, I don't know why. Like typically I don't have to set this, but apparently this time I did. So now if I go and let's just save our camera here. Let me just adjust it to kind of center it better. And save the camera again. Okay, that's much nicer rotation. Okay, now it's going the wrong direction, so I don't want to go to the back of this because this is the end of the animation. I want this to end on the other side. So I'm going to double click this and set this to -75 and then go to the end. Now what's cool about this is that when I'm at the end of this camera move, I could set this to what I want the end to look like, click the save, and when I rewind it, it'll actually reset back to where it should be at the start of it. Okay, so it's just rotating it -75 or +75 the other way. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I like this little like light reveal. So here it's kind of dark. Obviously we can see it. But then as we swipe across, we're getting a bit more light into the scene. And so it's just brightening up that keyboard. Okay, now what's also cool about this is we can add more animation. So right now this is just orbiting. So I could right click and say animation. And I could say let's do a zoom on this. Actually, yeah, a zoom's fine. Now, wherever my ticker was, that's where it's going to start. So my ticker was way over here. Let me turn that off. I'm going to drag this in. And so it's going to start like this, and then it's going to zoom in as it's doing that. Now, it has its own settings. So when I double click that camera, here's the settings. So it's going to start off at a 50 zoom and then go to a 99. Okay. That's obviously way too much. So maybe I want to go to 70 or something. Because I don't want it to be like out. I don't want to have any part of this sticking outside or being very close to it. So maybe even 65. There we go. Okay, and maybe at the start of this, this is like 35. Okay, a little wiggle to update it, and then, yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, now that's one camera. I do want to adjust, there's some other properties down here. So the motion ease is right now set to linear. So it's just going to be going the same speed throughout. If we're only doing one camera, we want to keep the start of this going like fast right at the beginning. And then the end of this, maybe we want this to like ease out. Okay, so the out of this will then ease and slow down. So I'm going to set both of these here to ease out. And that way, if we were just to hit play, it might not be very apparent because it's kind of rendering as it's doing it. But over here, it's going to be animating like faster rotations. And then it's gradually going to be slowing down so that this area, there's not a whole lot of movement. So you can see from 4 seconds to 5 seconds, not a whole lot. But from 0 to 1, there's a big rotation that's happening there. Okay. Now, if you wanted more cameras, you could, I'm going to save. You could go here and click a new camera, and then let's say, let's do a twist cam. And on the twist cam, I'm going to set up my camera how I want. So I'm making sure I double click so I'm inside it. I'm going to rotate a smidge. Like that. I'm going to make sure I save. Okay, and then on here I'm going to go to Dolly. Okay, and what Dolly's going to do, let me drag this again back to the beginning. Dolly is going to push in towards something. Okay, so right now it's going backwards. So I'm going to go and click on this, set my distance to like -3. You'll see how it goes into the model. Okay, so I'm actually going to -8. Let's see how far we go here. Okay, that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit further. -15. There we go. Okay, and if I rotated this slightly like this, and then, oh my god, just stay. There, okay, and then I save this, it'll actually like push in towards those, and actually could go through it. So that starting point is always going to be critical when we do something like this. So let's say we start there, let's save this again. Alright, so that's good. Okay, now I said this was a twist cam, so I like to do the push first, and then I'll do the twist afterwards. And so now as we twist, whoosh, look at that. Okay, now this is one I probably would leave like linear on the start and the end. Okay, so linear on both of these. And what I would do is, you know, thinking of like camera cuts, I could have this like swooping happening here, and then I switch to my orbit cam for this. Okay, so we can do this for like 15 different cameras if we wanted to. Just adding new cameras, making sure we're saving it. If you wanted to adjust your settings, and we'll just call this like new cam for now. Double click. We can come down to here, and we can adjust our focal length in this. Okay, so a higher focal length is going to square this up more, where if we switch back to our orbit cam, you'll see there's a bit of perspective that's happening on here. Okay, so new cam. All right, I don't know why new cam went back to the other one, but there we go. Oh, I didn't save it. There we go. All right, so new cam, we pull this up, we get more square, blocky looking. And if we take this down, we're gonna get more perspective. Okay, obviously this is to the point of really far distortion, but for that twist, that might be a cool way to do the twist because we make it look so much bigger than it is, right? So let's just save that real quick. Let's jump to our twist cam. Let's pull that down further. Okay, now what that means is, as we zip through this, you'll see it goes a lot further, or it seems to. I'm going to pull it down even further, like that. And then on that dolly, I'm going to take the distance a lot lower. I'm going to say -5. And I'll even like zoom back a bit, so I start off here. And then make sure I save. And then yeah, so we're pushing through and we're twisting, and I think I could use a little bit more on that twist. So let's go to 80. Okay, and I think my dolly is -5 is not enough, so let's go to -12. I just want to make sure I have some keyboard there at the end still. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now on my orbit cam, I could do the same thing. I could say, okay, well, wait, when we're here, I really don't care for how blocky or how perspective this is. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning. I'm going to click on my orbit camera or my zoom camera. I'm going to say my initial one is going to be 150. Okay, now when I wiggle the mouse, it'll zoom in. Okay, way too close, so now I need to zoom out. There we go. And I may need to recenter this a bit, and then save. And now when we go here to this, okay, now that obviously looks very far away, I need to also adjust this focal length. So let's set the end focal length to 130. Let's just see what that looks like. Nope, we need to go a little bit closer on that. Oh, I'm pushing the wrong way. There we go. Let's go 180. There we go. So you can adjust these things very quickly without having to go through a whole lot of like keyframes and resetting keyframes. It's just updating settings, which is amazing. Okay. Now we didn't get into it, obviously, but there's also like you could animate stuff in here. There's animation, fade, keyframe, translate, turntable. Okay, so you can do stuff like that. We're not doing it for this assignment, but I just wanted you to see that these also have, you know, keyframes and animations you can do on them. Okay, so that's how we would set up our animation.